Long ago in ancient Egypt, a story unfolded that was larger than life. It was a story of jealousy, family drama, and epic battles. But it was also a story of love, doing the right thing, and how good can triumph over evil. Set, the god of chaos, betrayed and murdered his brother Osiris, the king of Egypt. Set then seized the throne for himself. As king, Egypt fell from a peaceful and prosperous land into one of tyranny and chaos. During his rule, his paranoia got the better of him, and in the process, he scattered Osiris's body across Egypt. Isis, the wife of Osiris, took it upon herself to bring her beloved back to life. The road to resurrection was not an easy path. However, Isis was undeterred and eventually managed to revive Osiris temporarily. Osiris had dwelled in the land of the dead for too long, and in that time, he had become the lord of the underworld. With his newfound responsibilities, he could no longer stay in the land of the living. But before his final departure, he left behind his legacy with his wife Isis, an unborn son that was destined to rule Egypt and return it to its former glory. This is a story of revenge and retribution. This is the story of Horus. Isis, finding herself pregnant, was in a perilous situation. She carried within her womb the future king, Horus, the son of Osiris. However, her fears were well-founded, for Osiris's jealous brother, Set, harbored malicious intentions. Set's thirst for power and his obsession with thwarting the destiny of his nephew knew no bounds. Desperate to safeguard her child, Isis sought the protection from her fellow gods. Her path led her to the highest of gods, Ra, the supreme deity of Egypt. Initially skeptical, Ra questioned how Isis could be so sure of her child's divine nature. With unwavering faith and determination, Isis responded, "I am Isis, and my child is conceived from Osiris's seed." Her words resonated with the divine assembly, and Ra immediately understood. He issued a decree that would echo through time. Set could not harm Isis's unborn child. To ensure the safety of the unborn prince, Ra assigned the goddess of protection, Werethikau, as her guardian. The stage was set for a divine showdown, a struggle between destiny and jealousy. Set, a figure consumed by jealousy and ambition, was not easily swayed by divine decrees. Ra's promise of protection did little to deter him from his treacherous path. With a heart full of malevolence, he devised a scheme to imprison Isis in the spinning house of Sais. It was a cunning move intended to disrupt the divine lineage and seize power for himself. But Set's nefarious plans didn't just end with the capture of Isis. His own wife, Nephthys, was also ensnared in a web of treachery and was confined to her house under Set's control. It appeared that Set's machinations were proceeding smoothly, and the future of Egypt hung in the balance. Though Isis was imprisoned, she did not let that deter her from her goal. She was determined to escape this prison and raise her child as the rightful heir to the throne. Nephthys, Set's wife, eventually found her path to freedom. She defied the bonds that held her captive and, in a surprising act, extended her hand to help Isis break free from the spinning house. With her freedom reclaimed, Isis stood at a crossroads. The safety of her unborn child remained her sole purpose, and she was determined to protect him at all costs. Her journey, however, was far from over. Isis, cradling the future of Egypt within her, embarked on a quest of protection and hope. She sought refuge on the secluded floating island of Pe, where Wadjet, goddess of serpents, and the Nile Delta held sway. This island, adrift in the waters of Egypt, would become a sanctuary for Isis and her unborn child. Recognizing the profound significance of her actions, Isis severed the island's bindings. This caused the island to set sail upon the ancient waters, carrying with it the hopes and destiny of a kingdom. On this secluded isle, hidden from Set's malevolent intentions, Isis would continue to safeguard her divine offspring and nurture the legacy of Osiris. As time passed, Isis would continue to wander and remain hidden from Set. Amidst the serene and mystical swamps of the Nile Delta, Isis embarked on a journey both arduous and miraculous. Her heart, burdened with foreboding, found herself alone in the depths of the swamp. Her labor was a trial that tested even the mightiest of gods. With each wave of pain, she called out for the help of the divine, and her cries reached the heavens. As the first light touched the earth on the spring equinox, a day synonymous with rebirth and new beginnings, the arduous labor became a profound and sacred moment. In this tranquil corner of the world, within the fragrant lotus flowers and the soothing sway of the papyrus reeds, the child of Osiris and Isis was born into the world. His name was Horus, and his arrival symbolized not only his destiny, but also the eternal cycle of life and renewal. As news of Horus's birth reached the ears of Set, a chilling determination seized him. He would not rest until this divine child's breath was stilled. The gods of old knew that Set's malevolence had no boundaries, and they gathered around Isis to protect her and the newborn Horus. Isis, aided by deities like Nephthys, Wajet, Nekhbet, Hathor, and others, orchestrated a daring plan. Together, they provided sanctuary in the heart of the papyrus swamps of northern Egypt, a secret oasis shielded by the vast reed beds and the shadowy canals. They lived in constant motion, ever watchful, as Set's relentless pursuit remained a lurking threat. Isis was fully aware of the impending danger. To secure sustenance for her precious son, she ventured out into the inky depths of the night, but she was never alone. A cadre of 7 loyal scorpions, a divine gift from Selket, the goddess of healing, stood guard. With their protective presence, Isis ensured that Horus remained untouched by the vengeful hand of Set. However, even with such divine protection, Set's malevolence knew no bounds. On a fateful night, he came close to capturing Isis, her son Horus, tantalizingly within reach. It was a moment of peril, of darkness and despair, but salvation came from an unexpected source. Heru Bedeti, also known as Horus of Beded. A great river battle erupted, a tempestuous clash between good and evil. Amidst the relentless waves and surging tides, Horus of Beded confronted Set with unwavering courage. This was not just a physical battle, but a symbolic struggle, a reflection of the cosmic conflict between order and chaos, justice and malevolence. And in the end, it was Horus of Beded who thwarted Set's sinister designs, which allowed Isis and her child Horus to escape. As Horus matured and was nurtured and educated by his mother and the divine companions who had safeguarded his early years, he grew stronger, both in body and spirit. With every passing day, he inched closer to the destiny that awaited him, to challenge his uncle Set and reclaim his father's kingdom. As the years passed, Horus matured into a strong and courageous leader. He recognized that the time had come to challenge Set for his rightful place as the king of Egypt. To resolve this grave dispute, the conflict was brought before the Ennead, a tribunal consisting of 9 gods, as well as other honorary members, such as Thoth. Horus, the symbol of righteousness, accused Set of unlawfully seizing the throne from Osiris, his father. However, the path to justice was not without its hurdles. As the Ennead was asked to decide between Horus and Set, the verdict was divided. Many chose Horus, but Ra, the supreme god, claimed that Set, despite his heinous actions in the past, still had a better claim to rule. Neith, the goddess of wisdom, was sought out to help persuade Ra. She stated that given the actions of Set and the lineage of Horus, Horus should have a better claim to the throne. This infuriated Ra. He explained that Horus could not be king just yet, for he was still too young and inexperienced to take on such a task. Set was also angered, as he claimed that being the brother of Osiris, it was only right that he received his crown. The gods engaged in a series of back-and-forth arguments until Isis, Horus's mother, scolded the other gods for being undecided. It was unthinkable that Set, who was responsible for Osiris's death, could inherit his throne. Many of the gods were speechless. This certainly was a compelling argument, but Ra was not prepared to concede just yet. Ra stated that Isis's opinion was not impartial, and that if they were to have a fair trial, it had to be held on an island in the middle of the Nile, so that the jury could decide without outside pressure. The fate of Egypt hung in the balance, as both Horus and Set fervently presented their cases. Set, despite his malevolence, was one of the 9 judges, further complicating the divine trial. The Ennead was tasked with passing judgment, and arranged a series of trials to determine the true heir to the Egyptian throne. These trials would determine whether Horus or Set would rightfully rule. The trials were both physical and symbolic in nature. Among these endless trials were the Hippopotamus Contest, the Poisoned Goblet, the Boat Contest, and the Lettuce Incident. The Hippopotamus Contest. This unique trial emphasized the danger and chaos associated with the hippopotamus, one of the most feared animals in ancient Egypt. To settle the matter, the gods devised a unique trial. Both Horus and Set transformed themselves into hippopotamuses and engaged in a fierce and chaotic battle in the waters of the Nile. This battle was seen as a metaphorical representation of their ongoing struggle for supremacy. During their battle, the other gods observed the contest. To ensure a fair outcome, the gods had to intervene to prevent either deity from being killed or severely harmed in the form of a hippopotamus. Ultimately, the gods separated the combatants and declared the contest a draw. The decision was made by Thoth, the god of wisdom, and was aimed at restoring order and balance. The Boat Contest. In this particular challenge, the divine duo decided to engage in a boat race. This wasn't just any boat race, however. It was a stone boat race. The other gods were perplexed by this contest. They had never seen a ship made of stone, nor did they believe that such a boat could even float on the waters. Set, renowned for his cunning and trickery, understood this as well. However, he counted on his immense physical strength and cleverness to win this race. Horus, in his wisdom, chose to make a boat out of wood instead of stone. Wood was a material known to naturally float, so it was the obvious choice. The boat was then covered in plaster to imitate the appearance of a stone ship. Upon seeing this, Set was enraged. As the race began, Set's stone boat predictably sank beneath the waters of the Nile, while Horus's ship began sailing smoothly. The other gods laughed at this sight. The enraged Set transformed himself into a hippopotamus and attacked Horus's boat, revealing its true nature. Horus, however, was no pushover. The two engaged in combat, but was eventually stopped by the other gods. The jury of the gods decided that this contest would also end in a draw, since Horus cheated and Set was being a sore loser. The Poisoned Goblet. In his quest to undermine Horus, Set invited the gods to a banquet. During the banquet, Set offered Horus a goblet of beer that had been poisoned. Set's intention was to poison Horus, ensuring that he would not be able to challenge him for the throne of Egypt. However, Set overlooked one fact. It was Isis, Horus's mother. Isis was a powerful and resourceful goddess who was devoted to her son's success and well-being. Realizing the danger, Isis took swift action to protect Horus. She used her magical abilities to neutralize the poison, rendering the beer harmless. Horus, unaware of the poisoned goblet and the intervention of his mother, drank from it without suffering any harm. When Set discovered that his plan had failed, he accused Horus of using sorcery to thwart his deadly scheme. The gods, including Ra and Thoth, intervened in the dispute, putting an end to yet another battle. The Lettuce Incident. Perhaps the most infamous and comical incident occurred at yet another feast. At this party, all the gods were invited, which created a minor problem. There were not enough rooms to host everyone, which resulted in multiple gods having to share tents. As if to cause problems, Horus, Set, and some other gods were assigned to the same tent. That night, while everyone was asleep, Set took advantage of the situation. In an attempt to discredit Horus's claim to the throne, Set made his way to Horus's bedside and unloaded his seed onto Horus's body. However, Horus slept with one eye open. He was cautious when Set was around and caught the seed in one hand, not letting it touch his body. Horus informed his mother about this, and she quickly cut off his hand and threw it into the Nile. Using her magic, Isis was able to create a new hand for her son. In order to get revenge on Set, she proceeded to collect seed from her son. She then deposited the seed into Set's favorite vegetable, the lettuce. Later that day, after a delicious meal of fresh lettuce, Set stood up in the middle of the room where every god was gathered in celebration, and he claimed that he had an announcement to make. Set exclaimed to everyone in attendance that he had done the male's work on Horus, and that this fact alone was proof enough that he would make a better king than Horus. Using his powers, Set called for his seed to return, but instead the seed returned from the middle of the river, not from Horus's body as he had expected. Set was understandably puzzled at this outcome. Before he could speak, Isis stepped in to call her son's seed out. To everyone's surprise, the seed came forth from Set's forehead. Set's plan not only failed, but backfired on himself, as it was apparent to everyone there that it was Set who had the male's work done to him. Ra's determination to have Set claim the throne was beginning to crumble. These divine trials continued for over 80 years, with Ra denying Horus his legitimate claim to the throne. Over the course of these battles, Horus loses his left eye. However, Thoth was able to create a new eye for him, using his magic. The Eye of Horus would go on to become a symbol of health, protection, and healing. Set, however, did not leave these battles unscathed. In one battle, Set was castrated by Horus, severely injuring him. As the years continued to pass, the land of Egypt was suffering under Set's rule, and Isis was desperate to do something to help her son and her people. She transformed herself into a beautiful young woman and sat down in front of Set's palace where she began to cry. Set, hearing the cries of a woman, was curious and stepped outside to investigate. Upon seeing the woman, he questioned the cause of her sorrow. Isis, in disguise, told him how a wicked man, her husband's own brother, had killed him and taken his land. And in addition, he wanted to end the life of her only son and had banished her to the swamplands and the thickets where only the scorpions were her companions. Set, hearing these words, was outraged by her story and declared that this man should be punished. He swore that he himself would go find this man and cast him from the lands and restore the woman and her child to their rightful place. Isis smiled sinisterly and threw off her disguise, revealing her true identity to Set and the other gods in attendance. Isis exclaimed that even Set has condemned himself by his own decree. This simple act changed the minds of the other gods, and they decided that it was time to put an end to these endless contests. They sought the wisdom of Osiris, the previous king and god of the underworld. Despite being in the land of the dead, the gods were able to make contact with him. They questioned, who was the rightful heir to the throne? Osiris told them that Horus is the rightful heir, for he was his son, and that succession on the throne should not be through murder and violence. A moment of silence fell upon the tribunal. Ra and the other gods all agreed that since this was the wish of the prior king, and since Set had condemned his own actions, he was not fit to be king. It was then unanimously decided that Horus was the rightful heir. Set, consumed by anger and pride, could not accept the god's decision. He challenged Horus once more, and the battlefield bore witness to their fierce clash. In the midst of swirling chaos and fury, it seemed as though Set's rage might finally lead him to victory. Yet, Horus possessed a swiftness of both body and mind that surprised even the gods. In the pivotal moment of the climactic battle, Horus struck with unwavering determination, and Set, the harbinger of chaos, was defeated at last. Set and his followers, who had once thrived under his rule, now faced exile. They were banished to the desert lands beyond Egypt's borders. It was a stark reminder of their treacherous deeds, where they were left to ponder the consequences of their actions. With Set vanquished, Horus, the rightful heir, assumed the throne of his father. Guided by the wisdom of his mother Isis, he became known as Horu Sematawi, Horus, uniter of the two lands. Horus went on to marry the goddess Hathor, a well-respected deity in her own right. He also fathers many children, most notably Ihi, the god of music, and the four sons of Horus, Imsidi, Hapi, Dwamutef, and Kebesenuef, who were the protectors of the deceased and played a crucial role in the funerary sphere. Horus embarked on a noble mission to restore the balance and harmony that had been disrupted by Set's chaos. From that moment forward, the rulers of Egypt, from the first dynastic period and beyond, chose to align themselves with the legacy of Horus. They adopted a Horus name at their coronation, signifying their commitment to maintaining order in the land. Just as Osiris had been the first to establish this order, it was Horus who would ensure its enduring presence. The kings of Egypt would identify with Horus in life, and with Osiris in death, creating a timeless legacy of rebirth and unity. And so the tale of Osiris, Isis, Set, and Horus continued to echo through the corridors of history, a testament to the enduring power of love, sacrifice, and the unyielding spirit of renewal in the sands of ancient Egypt.